Welcome back to MMA Jammin with the mighty Kyle Chain. Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. Now the thing about this fight is they have a lot of very similar traits. They're both stand-up fighters. They're both strikers. Whittaker and Till are actually the same height, which you'd never guess just watching previous fights and seeing these guys versus the other opponents. Whittaker has been in the middleweight division for a while, was champion, and was looking almost unstoppable after defeating Yoel Romero twice. And they have Till, who's coming from the welterweight division and who was looking huge in the welterweight division, looked like a really big giant compared to everybody else. But in the middleweight division, he's not that big. So what we see now is these two guys are gonna come in at the same height. Till is gonna have a little bit of a reach advantage, just a very minor reach advantage. But I want to break down the styles and what's going to make this fight interesting and what the keys to victory might be. So when you look at a man like Till now, Till has a very deceptive kind of style, and he depends a lot on masking that left hand. He's a southpaw fighter, so the left hand is always back, and he's always masking that left hand behind the jab and with a little stutter step. So he does a little two-step forward most times to land his straight left. What you'll find is also that he's always feinting. His hands are very active. He's always moving his hands. He actually makes himself bigger in the cage by the way he stands. He's very upright when he stands. Most fighters, another reason why he looks taller than most fighters is because he's straight up, very similar to Conor McGregor. And his movement, his body's not moving that much, but his legs are. So his legs are moving in and out fairly quickly as they want to, and that front hand is in, the right hand is in front, and it's creating that mask, blocking the vision. It's also gauging his space. He's also finding out how close he can get, how close he needs to get, and definitely how close you can get, right? So he's keeping you away with that. He's creating different looks. He's always feinting. He really throws a lot of feints, right? He moves his hands out and he makes himself big, so you feel caged, you feel pressured when you're fighting him. And he's coming forward a lot, so he tends to come forward consistently. Now that makes it for an interesting matchup against a man like Whittaker, who enjoys when people come forward, right? He likes that a lot. Whittaker is a blitz fighter. He tends to just blitz in very quickly and throw combinations. But the good thing about Whittaker is that he throws 3-4 punches, 3-4 strikes, ends with a kick. He's very affluent in his combinations, and he tends to mix it up very well. So, and he's not like a Muay Thai striker where they throw the entire hip and they throw, so they're committing the entire body to a kick. He'll throw snap kicks very much like karate. And the reason he does that is to ensure that he can always get back in position to throw 2-3 more kicks, 2-3 more punches. So that's why he's so fluent in his combinations, because he's just throwing it quickly, bam, 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 if it be punches or whatever, and then he's able to move and reposition. Now, this had put him in trouble with, the great Israel Adesanya. We saw that he was rushing in and got caught. He was overextending himself. Now this is the thing. He has to be careful how he overextends. Now, Darren Till is a very different fighter from Israel. Darren does not do the lean back, but what he does a step back and throws the counter. That is something that Whittaker will expect. I think it's something he'll watch out for. Not to mention, one of Whittaker's best punches is his left hook. He lunges in with a left hook and puts fools out. Now, because Till is standing in a southpaw position, it means his left is what's facing, right? So it will be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Till is not easy to take down. He's not, as much as Gastelum we saw in the Woodley fight where Till was owned on the ground by Woodley. the interesting thing is Woodley couldn't take him down. The reason he got to the ground is because he got hit. So Woodley landed a punch and Till went down, and then he capitalized. And that is essentially what Robert would have to do as well, because he's not an easy man to take down. So I don't think Robert is going to be, you know, shooting for many takedowns or even trying to take him down. You may work the clinch a little bit. Till fought Kelvin Gastelum, and Gastelum didn't have much success either when it came to that. So Robert will definitely have to watch out for all of that. I think Till also has that left kick, that left roundhouse, in case you start to lean over to one side or the other. I think it's going to be very interesting, and I think you're going to, like I said, it's very evenly matched. It's interesting. What is also interesting is the mental state of the fighters, and that's something that you have to consider. Till is super confident, even though he just had some losses. He's also had some wins, and he's a young upcomer, super confident. There's a lot of belief generally out there in Till's abilities and his skills. But then you have Robert Whittaker, who was the reigning champion, but literally got burnt out. He got burnt out of the sport. Like he was mentally and emotionally burnt out, and physically as well, because he was having a lot of injuries, and therefore decided that he needed to take a break. And this was after his knockout loss against Israel Adesanya. And it's a very difficult situation when fighters get mentally and emotionally and physically burnt out. And I want people to understand that unlike any other sport, MMA fighters have to do, there's so many aspects of the game that they have to perfect. So the training is incredibly intense all the time. On top of the fact that, you know, you're diminishing your time with your family, situations like that, for people who tend to take fight camp away from their family and situations like that. And then also the media. I mean, Robert was a champion, and you'll find that we've seen in a case of GSP, we've seen in the case of Rose Namajunas, where the champions, they get so burnt out because of the pressure. Even Ronda Rousey, they get burnt out because of the pressure that they're consistently under, from media obligations, from the expectations of everybody, the fans and everyone else, the critics and the fans, and the trolls and everybody who are constantly pressuring them and constantly, you know, just creating this atmosphere of unease where the fighters just can't, them don't have a break, man, them can't relax. So it's amazing how many trucks pass my yard. Anyway, so I think we have to keep that in mind for Robert Whittaker. I think Till will have the mental edge in terms of being ready to face this again. There has been a consistent thread that has happened with champions, especially long reigning champions who get beaten. We don't see them come back on top. We just don't. It's not happened. The only one I can think of off my head is GSP, who took a very long break before he came back. And I'm not talking about guys who lose the belt one time and then come back on, like they weren't long, like they win the belt, next fight them lose the belt, and then 2 fights later they win back. I'm talking about long reigning champions like Renan Barão, like Jose Aldo, like Ronda Rousey, like, well, Demetrius left, but like there's so many of these fighters who we've seen have been the greatest of all time. They've been top of the game, and then as soon as they lose, they're not able to reattain that success and get the belt back. So I'm hoping it's not a real thing. I'm hoping this trend holds no actual meaning and that Robert can do the thing. But if you are a betting person who bets on trends and things like that, that is definitely something to consider, along with the mental state of Robert right now. Okay.